All right. So back with another Q&A. Got some questions lined up. And then also like, share, comment, subscribe. And this is for entertainment purposes only. I'm not diagnosing you nor a doctor. So let's get right into it. And the first thing we want to talk about is that there's a question about my statement that I don't believe in overtraining. And I believe that it's more like an overtaxation of your CNS, where your CNS getting fatigued. I I believe that. Now, I just went to Dallas, like I said on the last video. I tried to give myself fatigue, like overtraining, rhabdo. I tried very hard because I wanted to see why am I continually having better endurance, better strength, and keeping calories at maintenance, or actually a little less right now because I'm working out more. So technically, calories in through diet, it's the same at maintenance, sometimes a little less because I'm unable to get all my meals in because I'm increasing my physical activity. So I'm not going to eat during my physical activity. Um, but like I'm not getting smaller and I'm not losing strength and I'm only increasing in strength and performance and endurance, right? So it's really, really weird what's going on. And uh, so sorry, I just got a text from somebody. Um, I just think that your body is so much more capable uh, of what you expect from it. Now, overtraining can happen if you are just very, very dumb in what you're doing. And it's sports specific, right? So when you hear about overtraining, I think that's more catered toward the bodybuilding industry because overtraining is a term that would be used because you are inefficient with your training program to build muscle. Okay. So if you're a soccer player or football player, I don't think there's overtraining. If you're an endurance athlete, I don't think there's overtraining. I believe that your CNS gets fatigued or overtaxed before that overtraining happens. Bodybuilders are notorious for having programs set up so where they have rest days or sometimes deload days for some people because of the rest needed to build muscle because of specific anabolics that they're on. So if you don't have rest days or you don't have like a pump day in there to where you're not going all out with your intensity, then you're going to just keep breaking down that muscle and not giving it enough time to repair and to build and get larger. They're also using things like growth hormone. So there's so many different pathways for they're trying to make their muscles larger. And they don't really care about the strength aspect. That's secondary. But we know a bigger muscle is a stronger muscle. But a power lifter can have smaller muscles and yield way greater strength uh, in a particular movement. Same thing like CrossFitters. They can do amazing strength, feats of strength at multiple directions of plain old directions, right? Um, and they can be overtrained as well if we're talking about just that word. But it's not just like it's first this the CNS that's breaking down. That is being fatigued. It's overtaxed. And then that's going to cause your adrenals to be overtaxed. And then that's where when those two things are combined, then that's overtraining. That's like, I would say like that's whenever you can use the term overtraining. But for the average person going to the gym, they're not going to overtrain. For the person that's starting up on a new program or starting up on a new diet, you're not going to overtrain. If you have to cut your calories and go into the gym, you feel fatigued and exhausted. You're like, oh, I'm overtraining. No, that's not the case. Overtraining is a very sports specific term that involves the CNS and the adrenals. Um, so that's really what I mean. And I mean, you can use analogies of cars, for example. Um, like you can set to have a trip to drive from Florida to New York. If you if you do not plan to stop to fill up with gas, you're not going to get there. You're going to run out of gas, right? And don't bring in this whole electric car thing either. So we're just using a gas tank. If you take my Forerunner and you drive from Florida to New York, you're not going to make it on a tank of gas. You have to plan ahead of time to stop and refuel. So that's kind of the same idea with the training. You can't just continue to, if you're very specific in what you're doing, you're going to need to intuitively rest or recover somewhere, somehow, whether that be a very light pump day or not. So you can just get into the gym and walk and keep cardio going on the treadmill and maybe do some hit cardio and then just do like arms, calves, abs. You're not gonna overtax your CNS. Like that day really won't. But if you throw in like heavy deadlifts on that day, and then the next day you're doing heavy hack squats, and then the day after that you're doing heavy overhead press and like with pure intensity, high volume, I that's where you start to tax the CNS, those large compound movements. So um, that's kind of what I mean. So you can use the term overtrain, but the problem is that it's used so nonchalant. It's just thrown out there that people think that they are going to overtrain. So I would just say be careful with that term and know that if you're not a top 15 Mr. Olympia bodybuilder, if you're not the top three Ironman competitors, like you're not going to get overtrained. Like if you're not the top five CrossFit athletes, you're not going to be overtrained. Like I'm sorry. You might have a point of time to you just have to adapt to lower calories and push through sticking points of low of like fatigue, and you have to learn how to have fatigue management and stress reduction. But that's the other thing, man. When some of these athletes, that's all they do is they train and they recover and then they do social media or whatever, right? That's their life. But you also have to think about the average person that's just starting a diet. You're training, you have lower calories, you have a change to the dietary foods, you have uh, a, a I guess like a reformation of hormones. So that your body's trying to find a homeostasis balance that's optimal for muscle growth and fat loss and cholesterol and et cetera. You also have stress in your life. You have a job. All those things come into play. So I think the stress and everything is going to tax your adrenals before it would tax your muscles to break down and and cause rhabdo, right? So I there's so many other factors in fatigue that are involved in this, right? Because a lot of times people who do get rhabdo, who are just the everyday person, it's basically they don't feed themselves enough or hydrate themselves enough and or hydrate themselves enough, and then they go balls to the wall in the gym for 1 or 2 days, and they're brand like they're a newbie, and then that happens, but their body's not adapt to it. You have to adapt and condition your body and your CNS and your adrenals to your workload and to your stress in your life. So I personally don't like the term overtraining because it involves so much more than just training. Like overtraining just means training, but it involves stress levels, food, sleep. There's so many factors, hormones. I mean, there's so many factors. You can't just say overtraining. So it would be more like fatigue stress management or something like that. Like I don't know. There's a better term, but it's definitely not overtraining. That's just a like a clickbait term, which I don't like. So just figure out a better word. But yeah, you have to be able to condition your CNS to adapt to intensity. So So you have to be smart with what you're doing with diet, with stress, with sleep, with hormones, all those things, with mitochondrial health, with insulin sensitivity. All those things come into play. So, um, so that's what I mean. And yeah, if you think that you're training hard, the other thing that I wanted to say, if you think you're training hard, you're probably not training hard. Train with someone that trains harder than you, and you will understand. I've had the opportunity to train with other people who train very, very hard, and they killed me. And again, I've done it 3 days in a row before, and that's how I got rhabdo one of my times. So because there's a whole nother level. So whatever you're doing, know that there's a whole nother level. Um, so let me just get this one. Okay. Sorry, I had to answer that. Um, all right. So hopefully that clarifies everything. And again, just always try to train harder and some capacity. And typically I wouldn't do that on your own. I would That would be you having someone to train with or them making you go through a workout. But again, make sure that they know what they're doing and they're just not like your friend who's like, oh yeah, like I've seen two like they look like high school kids. I'm sorry, but guys are just looking more feminine nowadays. Like it's that lower testosterone of all these like uh high schoolers and college students. They look like children. Anyways, these two babies were working out together and um not a physique that's worth anything, and definitely no strength or form from either of them that was showing that they knew what they did. Like no credibility. But one was trying to train the other, and that's just it's not smart. You have the blind leading the blind. So again, try to get someone that knows what they're doing, and then you'll find a whole nother level to what you are capable of and then go from there and always do that. I mean, that's the reason why you do that in life, right? You don't hang around with people who are unmotivated or who are depressed and all these things. Why would you do that? If you want to become better and have more success, you hang around with successful people. If you want to learn English, you hang around and you're from another country, you hang around with people who speak English. I mean, that's the way that you do it. If you keep going back to what's comfortable, you're never going to grow. You're never going to succeed. So why would you do that in training, in nutrition? Why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense. All right. Anyways, on to the next question. I had another question from someone asking about like if their diet and training and everything is on point, and how do they become more optimal? And this is a loaded question because what is optimal? Like you have to define optimal, and what's optimal for you is not optimal for someone else, which is why I offer consultation because we need to figure out what are you expecting? Like what's your expectations of life and training and such, but then also like what what do you like what's your goals? Right? You have to have some sort of optimal goal, whether it be short, medium, or long-term goal. Um, so that's why I offer the consulting that I do because everyone's so different. Now, we can say, hey, like we can look through optimal pathways of improving training. Like I literally just talked about, you're probably not training hard enough. You can do better. Maybe your diet's not well enough. You can do better, right? We can change things up with food timing, right? Food choices. You maybe normal stool for you is diarrhea, but that's you just live with it, but that's not optimal. So maybe if we change some things, maybe it will become different, more solid, and then now that's optimal. You're like, oh, I never even like you don't know what optimal is, and like you don't know what normal or optimal is until you get it, right? So it's just a loaded question that optimal is different for everybody. So I would say though, if everything's on point and you have your nutrition down to where you are progressively have what is that? Have progressive uh, what is that term in training? Progressive overload? Yeah, progressive overload and training, you're becoming stronger, whether in reps or or volume or weight, whatever you're doing. If your body fat is a great point where you're mentally and physically and emotionally solid, then we can look into things like supplementation. Okay, but if you're feeling fine, then there's got to be something that's off, right? So we can look at blood work and try to figure out what's going on there. You can look at body scans if you want to, if you have the money, because maybe you have visceral fat. We can now start to work on visceral fat. Um, yeah, so I mean, maybe optimal for you is getting a better career. So maybe optimal is not getting sick at all, right? I think that's super optimal. That's really something that I'm happy about with myself is I don't get sick. Like I haven't gotten sick since, again, I told you, since 2018, 2019, I can't remember. But it's crazy. So like I don't remember what being sick feels like. Your body forgets pain for a reason. It forgets those things. And I um so if we're going the route of boosting your immune system, hey, maybe you do have some mitochondrial deficiency that's going on, and you think that you're solid on all of your other things, but maybe that's actually lacking. So now we start looking into peptide use. So okay, like what maybe we can optimize using SS31, right? So maybe we can do that, helping out with the cell membrane of the mitochondria to prevent leakage. Maybe we can help with avoiding, like maybe you have these like food cravings. Okay, well, and maybe that impacts your life somehow with your family or your job or your hobbies. Well, okay, well, let's look at retatrutide. Okay, let's start off on a low dose and let's kind of work our way through there. So again, I don't want to beat this topic down so much, but again, just kind of understand that consultation's there, and sometimes just talking through with someone with some blood work and such, you can have a better idea of what you want to accomplish and find out what is optimal in your life. Next question: should you stop all PEDs and HRT before your blood work? No, you should not. The reason why is I think that if you do that, now we're skewing data on the blood work, which we want to know. If you're on HRT or PEDs and they're going to be on them for a period of time, HRT for a lifetime, then why would you want to skew the data whenever that's your normal? So again, I don't think that's a good way to get blood work. Like I like to have blood work like when you feel the crappiest. Like I know a lot of clinics won't do this, but if you can get cortisol testing done, blood work in the middle of the day or later on when your cortisol is actually supposed to be going down, that's a better way for me to see, hey, maybe you do have cortisol issues. But the problem is that they usually do blood work with cortisol. You have to be like at 7 a.m. or something. Like they want you right when you're awake because they want to make sure that your cortisol is spiking high enough in the morning to wake you up. So, I mean, that's why, cortisol spikes, releases glucose into the bloodstream so that it can wake us up as well, right? So, but if we can get a better parameter on blood work to see what your normal is, then we can find out, okay, like this technically isn't normal, right? So, we can improve it there. But yeah, just stay on it because again, even if you like, um I do every other day injections for hormone therapy. So like I'm going to take my blood test on the day that I don't do the injection. Don't want to do it the day of my injection. So I do my injection in the morning, and then I don't want to go to the clinic and see what it is with the next few hours post injection because that might give me an inflated number. It's a little bit too high. It's a little bit too much of a peak of testosterone. But I've done it both ways. I've done it on the day off, and I've done it midday of an injection day. And my body's already kind of it's at a point where there's really not peaks and troughs, and there's not a big difference. We're not talking huge differences as far as uh, hormone like a total testosterone level. Like it'll stick around 2 to 3,000. So so it depends on how long you've been on your testosterone, the frequency of your injections. But just try to do pen twice a week, then try to be in the middle between the two injection days. So you can see kind of where the trough is, where the tail end of the testosterone coming down is. And then you can get a good idea of what's going on because then you might need to move to every other day injections. And then that might help other parameters like your ultra sensitive estradiol test. And then and then we can tackle that from there. So yeah. Um, Let me just do two more. How long have I been on here? There's no time limit. Okay. About the estrogen thing. So we can go with a few different routes of estrogen management. Someone was asking about like using uh, um, anti aromatase inhibitors. Some people don't like them uh, because of messing with your cholesterol, like with your HDL. So there are some other options for you, and this is kind of like I have like a little chart thing that I use, but we can look at different vitamins and minerals. So like zinc, estrogen lowers zinc. The estrogen lowers risk of zinc deficiency. Zinc dependent proteins metabolize estrogen. Cysteine, so like NAC, prevents oxidation of estrogen uh, into the dangerous form of estrone uh, that causes breast cancers. Um, Vitamin E deficiency impairs estrogen detoxification pathway. Again, low levels of vitamin E linked to higher estrogen. Um, Vitamin A helps to metabolize the biologically active estrogen, so estradiol, into an inactive form, esterone. Um, calcium deglutarate lowers estradiol levels, helps break down estrogen in the liver and convert it to less toxic form. Selenium, estrogen levels affect how selenium is distributed into various tissues within the body. Magnesium, that's a cofactor that of the enzyme that removes toxic forms of estrogen. And that can even happen through your menstrual cycle. So, taking higher amounts of magnesium in kind of mixing up the magnesium forms as well, I think is a great idea instead of just sticking with one type of magnesium the entire time. I like to do like magnesium malate post workout or pre workout, magnesium glycinate before bed, magnesium threonate kind of midday. So you can help with uh, brain functions and cognitive functions. Vitamin K inhibits estrogen activity, binding to estrogen receptors. It lowers the ratio of estradiol to esterone, right? So the like the stronger estrogen, the estradiol, and then the esterone is the weaker estrogen. Vitamin C, again, I'm a big fan. I'm a hype boy behind vitamin C. I think it's awesome. It's an awesome antioxidant. It's awesome diuretic. Helps with gastric emptying. Increases the most potent estrogen in women and on hormone therapy. It lowers aromatase enzyme, so in the ovaries on women. Vitamin D, it regulates synthesis of estradiol and esterone, so it makes it more protective for the bones because estrogen does have a protective pathway for cardiovascular and for bone health. Vitamin B6, specifically P5P, it detoxifies extra estrogen through the methylation pathway. Um, and let's see, folate. Um, that one, again, detoxifies extra estrogen through the methylation process and pathways, and also helps with the the estrogen's effect on genes and may lower the risk of breast cancer. Choline breaks down estrogen, stimulates the breakdown of phosphatidylcholine. So those with low estrogen, like premenopausal women, it requires more choline. So again, detoxifies excessive estrogen through the methylation pathway. And you can take in too much choline. Just remember, um, sometimes too much choline is a bad thing. It may cause anxiety as well, may cause liver toxicity. But we're talking about people that take over like 3,500 milligrams per day. So if you're eating a few eggs, you're not going to get you're getting like under 500 for like two eggs, 500 milligrams. So you don't have to worry about it unless you're supplementing with choline sources. Um, but yeah, I would just say like don't really overdo it. Again, everything in moderation, nothing being excessive. Plus, your body can end up like smelling like a fish. So it's kind of similar to like oral carnitine if you do too much of it, even injectable to a certain point. But it has like the same process of like oral carnitine as well, as far as like increasing TMAO. So again, you kind of want to manage that. If you're going to use carnitine, use injectable carnitine. This is what I always recommend. I like to go up to 600 milligrams to 1,000 milligrams per day. And you can strategically place it around your workouts. But again, it's going to be a better suited uh, cognitive enhancement too. I mean, even compared to the racetam groups, carnitine outperformed the racetams like piracetam in cognitive function. And to me, like again, the injectable, you're not going to get the TMAO risk, so the cardiovascular risk. So I think that that would be the route to go. All right. I kind of segued off of that one. That's wrong. Wrong way I wanted to go with. And the last but not least, is collagen recommended for athletes, or is whey protein going to yield the same results? Now, here's the thing about collagen and whey protein. Yes, there are proteins. They both have amino acids, but the amino acid profile is different. I prefer multi-source of collagen, and yes, I prefer the ancient nutrition one. 10 types of collagen in there. And one of the types of collagen really helps with joint health, the type 2 collagen. Um, the, think about it, think about it this way. If I were to want to recover as best as possible and build muscle best as possible, I would not take one or the other. I would take them together. Now, the the collagen, it increases the parasympathetic nervous system, so the rest and digest. Has a lot of glycine, a lot of proline, so it does help with skin tissue, digestive health. The and not so much muscle health. The whey protein, it's more anabolic. It's systemic or systemic. It um, is sympathetic nervous system, so it is fight or flight. It has way more anabolic effect. So it helps with building muscle. So why not take the two together, right? I think that that is great. So you're focusing on muscle and joint and connective tissue health as well. You can even go as far as taking collagen pre-workout. The amount of glycine in collagen pre-workout is not going to put you to sleep, nor is it going to lower your blood pressure to the point where you go hypo, right? It's not going to do that. Um, on the flip side, taking too much choline could. It can make you go hypo. It can cause like hypotension, right? And it also people there's a correlation between people having high amounts of choline in their diet and serum choline levels to producing more GABA. So I don't supplement with choline. So anyways, that's one of the reasons why. So because I love taking pump products, vasodilators, nitrates, and stuff like that. Anyways, back to like the whey protein and collagen. I think they are both together working better. Not, I wouldn't do one or the other. I would take them together. Um, it's going to be worth your time and your money to do it that way. And um, yeah, that's what I would do. So you can take it. You can take the collagen with your pre-workout. If you work out fasted, you could take it in the morning with your coffee if you do coffee, or you can put in some warm water or whatever you do in the morning to get ready for your gym session, or later on in the day, put it in whatever you're drinking while you're eating your pre-workout meal. And I think it helps stimulate. Now, again, this is just my theory. I think it helps stimulate the joint and connective tissue repair simultaneously. So it's like because we want to break down muscle and microfracture bone, right, during our workouts. We don't, but we also need our tendons and ligaments to grow as well, but they don't grow as fast. Like they don't strengthen as fast as muscle and bone. So that's why we have a lot of like tendon or ligament injuries in athletes. So that would be part of my routine of pre-workout and post-workout technically. I mean, I don't know why more companies don't blend them together. Um, but yeah, again, athletes need collagen. And no, don't get the type 1 and type 3 collagen. Don't like Jello is technically collagen, right? But those are not like fermented types of collagen. They are not whole food source type of collagens. They are just gelatin. So gelatin is not the same. So again, get a good source of collagen. Ancient Nutrition has a great one, 10 different types, 5 different sources. Um, that's the route that I would go. So yes, it's beneficial. If people write off saying collagen is worthless, they just don't understand physiology and biology. So nor do they even get collagen in their diet. Who's eating gristle off like the chicken wings and off their steaks? Like everyone cuts it off. So we're not getting enough collagen in our diet through whole foods. So supplement with it alongside with your whey protein. All right. That's it for today. I'll be back with more questions because I still have more questions, and one of them will be really good for the next video. All right. Later.